me know when we're streaming.
You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Good afternoon. I'm Tim Toth, Vice Chair of the Templeton Select Board. This is the meeting of the Capital Improvements Committee, our first meeting of this year, September 29th, 2021. The time is 3:30, and we will get to our agenda, which has been posted in the requisite 48 hours prior to our meeting per the open meeting laws. We'll start with a call to order. And immediately following, we will get to the organization of officers. I'd like everybody to please rise and pledge of allegiance. Flag is to our right.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the organization of officers. And I will defer to Mr. Smith or Ms. Bartolomeo, as they are members in the past on this board, and they know a little more how it's composed than I do. Never been on this board. Okay.
I'll nominate Tim Toth, the chairman. Advisor of planning.
Second that.
Ouch. I will accept the nomination. Any other nominations for the chairman of the committee? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. Justice?
Yes.
Bev?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Yeah.
All these non-voting. I believe we need to have a scribe as well. Oh, is that correct? We should have a scribe appointed as well.
We should, but nobody tends to want to do it. I'll offer to do the minutes if you want to appoint me as scribe or clerk, whatever you want to call it. I'll second that.
You can't appoint as the scribe. It's against the bylaw.
Very good.
Yeah, it's against 9-7 part C, so she can't officially, she can work on them, but unfortunately, Ms. Young cannot officially be our clerk. So I will nominate myself, Mr. Graves, as the clerk of this committee.
I'll second that.
I've done it before, so it's
So we have a nomination on the floor for Mr. Graves. Any other nominations for the clerk of our committee? Any other nominations for clerk of our committee?
Safe to say no.
Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Bartell?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
yes.
And I vote yes as well. Congratulations, Justice. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, action regarding the cat loader for the fall town meeting. Mr. Zosik is present in the room. Greetings, Mr. Zosik.
Well, as I presented last spring, we're having trouble with the old, well, the newer loader that we have. It's in need of thousands of dollars of repairs for the torque converter transmission. So I proposed with Adam going to the town floor, replacing the loader with a new loader, state bid price. And I did present Mr. Martin with a quote at that time with a $20,000 trade-in with
How
the
much?
loader we
How
have.
much? How much traded?
20,000. It needs a $60,000 repair.
This is the 1996 loader we're talking about?
No.
No.
I think it's 2014. So we presented that to Adam and the select board, and Adam discussed that it'd be wise to baby and assist this loader until the fall town meeting and go with the new loader. So the quote we got at that point in time with the trade-in, it was gonna cost us, I believe, $167,395. But since then, with everything going on, the newest quote, it went up 8%. And our cost now is $183,500. And that's with the projected increase in October.
How many hours does the old one have?
I believe it's a little over 4,000.
4,000 hours?
Is that 183 before the trade-in or after the trade?
I'm sorry,
Is that 183 before the trade-in or after the trade?
with the trade-in. I don't know if Holly didn't print this out for them, or would you guys like a copy of this?
After.
Sorry, Bob.
The question I have is, do you need that for this winter?
Absolutely.
Are you going to get one for this winter?
The expected some in early December.
Because like everything's so backed up. What if you don't get
Well,
one?
they've known we're looking for the loader, and sales rep is staying on top of trying to keep some out in this area. And I am on the top of this list, but obviously we can't make a commitment until town meeting. So
It's only 6 years old. How can it be?
it's a machine, Bev. It's nobody's fault. It's an internal damage. It's a Volvo. It's no different than you buying a car 3 years old and it needs a transmission or a motor. Internally, they gotta rip the whole machine apart.
Oh, I mean, people
I mean-
do that every day. That's
But it's our most valuable tool to the highway as far as plowing, removing trees. It's used daily.
see, I didn't think loaders were supposed to plow. I thought loaders were supposed to be used in a yard.
No,
No?
no, they plow, they do over the rail mowing, they do snow blowing, they do milling, they do winging of snow. It all depends what attachments you want to put on it.
It's not from putting it in first gear when it's going backwards?
No,
No?
no. It's all computerized. It's all, you can shift forward and reverse. And the computer, it's not like an old mechanical loader where you can, clanging and banging. It's not like that.
So why didn't they buy one? Why didn't we buy one earlier? Now it's gonna cost us 8% more.
What's that, Al?
Want me to answer?
If you want.
So this, what happened at the time, the capital improvement committee last time only had so much money allocated for this, and it went in front of the select board from what I can remember. And the select board decided to hold off on putting onto the warrant due to figure out our budget and everything else. So the decision was to figure out where our free cash was gonna land. Because if we were to expend more money, we would have went below that 20% threshold of our free cash at the end, going into this next fiscal year. So the concept was to see where we're gonna lie with free cash. Now that we have 1.47 million of certified free cash, 1.4475. That the objective was to figure where that money was gonna come in at. Then Bob was gonna present this to the Capital Improvements Committee for the fall town meeting. That was the recommendation of the select board. That's what I can recall.
So I
Yeah,
recall
it would have been
it.
on last capital, but this actually just happened after we finished everything. And everything was voted on. This is when we figured out and determined the problem. So it couldn't have been on the last capital. And with meetings with Adam and select board, this is, as Adam explained, this is what they projected to do, is to baby this along and come fall town meeting for the town.
You gonna have a backup plan in case you can't get one?
There's no backup plan, because if the loader dies, and then
Yeah, well, if you can't get one, then what are you gonna do?
we
It starts snowing.
I would have to come to the town and see if they would rent the loader by the month, or
At least one.
that's the only backup plan I could come up with.
Unfortunately, at least with the salesman, you stayed on top of it pretty much, so that's a positive.
Yeah.
To where we, like diligence and.
And then they've been treating us great. We got the backhoe, we got the new mini excavator backhoe for the cemetery. They're huge, they're like John Deere. And they have parts, you don't have to wait for all these parts. The most common parts they do carry. I mean, they're building a new facility now, as we speak. So they're still growing, big as they are.
What is this gonna be? What kind you gonna buy?
Caterpillar.
Caterpillar?
This will be comparable to our other
Where far as,
parts interchangeability, spares, et cetera.
no, well, there's a different machine for one. We will save if they come out for a issue with one of the other machines, and we happen to have a problem with the another one, at least they'll be there. They'll look at it. As far as tire sizes, none of those will match. One's a mini excavator with tracks, backhoes, a rubber tire backhoe with smaller tires and buckets. This is a front end loader with a 3.5 yard bucket. So it's that's the biggest piece of equipment that we have.
No, that's too bad. Anyway, well, it's up to people to decide.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we need to work on, Adam, is to have an inventory of all the equipment we have. Work on that.
I know Bob's been doing a pretty good job of keeping
I
the,
have my list, we update it every time we get a new piece of equipment.
because before you came in, I don't think it was accurate, and then you came in, then you made sure,
Yeah,
at least in
all
your
the-
department.
Actually, all the departments.
All the
Yes.
departments, yeah. But I know Bob started off when he first came
Yeah, we
in.
had quite a mess, so it took us a while to clean it up and auction everything off, and everything on there has a date, the VIN number of the machine, make and year.
But to Bev's point, I mean, that was another select board goal that's gonna be coming up, is to keep track of anything and anything we could dispose of or bring to the auction. I know I spoke with the fire chief, and he has some stuff that he'll be cleaning up and some other departments, so across the board. I mean, Bob's done a pretty good job at his highway garage, making sure he gets his stuff up to the surplus auction. I think you're at the senior services department too, with those BART buses, that we were able to make a little over 5,000 on the surplus auction between the buses, some equipment, we got rid of quite a bit of electronics, which is good because electronics cost money to dispose of. So the auction actually went out quite well. But we want to get more of the departments involved. And we hope to get that all accomplished throughout the whole town as part of the select board goals. And they'll be voting on that in the near future as well. I think that was one of your goals too, if I remember correctly.
It was, and as Member Smith just pointed out before you spoke, part of getting these lists current is a requirement for our town insurance anyway. So updating and having a good inventory of our rolling stock and our fleet, it is extremely important.
Okay.
It is saddening that a fairly new and with the number of hours, I would say a gently used piece of equipment is failing, but yes, it is a mechanical failure, and I do understand things break down.
Oh, I wanted to puke because my goal was to replace the older loader, which was a 96.
Right.
That's
That's why I asked, because I remember the dates rolling into this. It's like, oh no, not the newer one.
I mean, it's nobody's fault. It's just happened to be one of our pieces of equipment. I mean, I wouldn't have bought a mobile anyways. But it could happen to anything. A drawer, I guess. I look at it to be what's the best move for the town of Templeton, not no longevity.
I'd like to make a motion from a capital planning standpoint that we move it forward to the process as far as to purchase the loader.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussions? Mr. Lamontagne?
Just to add, with the motion to approve, you want to do a supplemental report. That's, I believe, what the bylaw states, that would be a supplemental. So if you can do that, to include that within the motion.
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
Does it comes in gold?
Hmm?
Does it come in gold?
We're 10 grand more.
Yeah.
Caterpillar yellow, closest we will get.
So are we amending the motion to do the supplemental report?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So does that mean that the mover and the seconder have to?
It would be.
Yeah.
Duly
Duly noted.
Duly noted. Okay, so the motion's on the floor with a second and the supplemental report added. Any further discussions? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. Mr. Graves,
Yes.
Ms. Portello, yeah. Mr. Smith,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, additional appropriation to the River's Edge Conservation Project.
George.
Much paperwork here.
No way.
House full. Years of it.
We get some more of that.
I know. Lawrence, yes.
George, did you kind of want to start off by saying how you, the River's Edge Conservation Area project went from the notice of intent in the plan that was
Yeah,
approved?
so-
So if you can, as the chair of conservation.
Okay, yeah, it's been the chair of conservation. About 8 years ago, I forget exactly when it was, but at a town meeting, the citizens decided to take over the old,
It was kind of like. Okay. thanks.
okay, all right, it was originally November 9th, 2015. They took over the old building down in Waldenville on, it's like, anyhow, where the town hall used to be. They took, we haven't, it was torn down.
Elm Street.
On Elm Street, yeah. And they gave the building and the land to conservation because there was really no other place to go with it because it was given to us by the state. The state owned it, the state wanted the town to take it over. So that's how we ended up with it. And we originally gave it to the veterans. Well, we're going to let the veterans use it to make a park down there. And because something came up and they felt that there's no parking and stuff like that there, they moved that over to Otter River. So we ended up having it back. And so we're looking to do a conservation area for the people of the town. They can go down, sit down, there's gonna be benches down there, and you're gonna be able to walk this, walking pathway out back, go all the way into back out into the state property, back past Pleasant Street and all that there. And, so they went and put out, a bond issue. What was it, a bond issue? Yeah, bond issue. And CPC gave so much money to do this. And now they just opened the bids for it, and apparently it's about $10,000 over what was originally allowed for that particular area. So we were just looking to see if we could get a supplementary from the town to get the rest of it done, so we could get it set up and do award the contract to the lowest bidder. We're there. You know more about that.
So, no, you did a good job. So like what George said, this is a project that was voted on in November of 2015. There was the 98,000 to take down those buildings, which was done. Then it was to do the conservation area. And they kind of got delayed with the All Veterans Park, as was
Right.
mentioned.
Yeah.
But town meeting voted for this to be a conservation area under jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. So this is the last step of the project. You have in front of you the architect's plans. This went in front of the select board as well. And there were some boundary issues. Those had to be taken care of with the surveys of the maps. You see that got addressed by Zoc surveyors. They came in. Then we went out, got the architect in to finish up the plans. The plans have been completed. There was about roughly 32,500 left of this 98,000 to finish up this project. We went out to bid. The bid results of September 27th came in. You have them in front of you with two bidders. The parent lowest bidder was $42,870 to complete the rest of this work for this project. Unfortunately, we only had roughly 32,500 left of the appropriation. So to be on the safe side, I'm looking for an additional appropriation of $12,500 that will finish this project. I did reach out to both of the bidders, and they are willing to hold their price, which is good news for the town, because this was unforeseen. It's certainly something where I think all folks in town, not just the select board, but the advisory committee, we want to close up some of these, and CPC, close up some of their articles.
I get rid of some of their articles so they can close them out. And also, 2 months ago, we extended the notice of intent for another 3 years to get this project taken care of. If you don't do it in the 3-year period, you can go back and add for another 3 years. But we've done this twice. 2 months ago, and now it's good for another 3 years. But we'd like to get it taken care of long before that, so we can close it out also.
Would this additional 12,000 be coming from CPC funds?
This would be coming out of free cash. CPC gave already $98,000, so they covered a substantial amount of it. I felt comfortable knowing that we had such a substantial amount of free cash certified. 12,500 to finish this project up is well spent money, in my opinion. And just to take it off the books, I mean, it's been ongoing since 2015. We just want to get this done. And like I said, the bidders are willing to hold the price, which will get this project done.
With the new senior housing, this is gonna be a real asset because it'll give them a place to walk to. When you're elderly, it's hard to just walk. If you have a goal, a place to sit, it makes it easier. And that's why I supported that. And I support this.
And being right on the edge of the river right there, you know, they'll go out there, they'll probably take a chair out there and might even try doing some fishing out there, you know?
Yeah.
It'd be something for them to do.
Yeah.
And it'll help get used to it.
Give them
Otherwise,
some place to walk
yeah,
to.
otherwise they're gonna park ATVs and come over and go use the bar and stuff like that downtown, which is they've been doing for the last 10 years.
But to your both your points too, I mean, you have Baltimore Garage there, you have Village Pizza. there's gonna be benches there, so folks will be able to sit down
Yeah,
while they're
go
waiting
have,
for their
go,
car.
go get lunch.
Oh,
and-
well,
yeah.
Go get lunch.
Yes.
Yeah, because basically there's really not a good place to go.
I'm hoping they'll go across the street to the liquor store and get a six-pack. to
Well,
sit
if you
down
know,
with.
if they know they're pretty much over
No
21, they can
open-
do
no
that.
open- No open drinking.
So, no, really, I think that it will be an asset in that way. It doesn't look too nice as it is, so anything will be a plus. As long as we use common sense when we do it, so it doesn't take a million man hours to take care of it,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah, so we'll be able, police department will be able to see who's there, what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas right
Not
now, they're
secluded.
parking cars in there. The other day, I went by, there really was three cars parked in there. You know, nobody knows who's there, what, they were just sitting in there.
Yeah.
And they were probably out walking out back, but we don't know that.
Yeah. Well, something, bring it up and see what people have to say.
Anything else, Rich?
Oh, I think that's it. Anything else?
So this is supplemental report for the additional appropriation.
Yeah. Let's do it. There's something that was worth those appropriations.
It's been an empty lot now for a long time.
It will really beautify that area, especially with, like you said, with the Baltonville Elementary School projects going in there. I mean, we're talking a $20 million investment up the road. And then with this, it'll be a nice area for folks to really enjoy for hopefully years to come.
Maybe even, may help the little businesses too, the Beaks Place, if somebody wants to go sit outside and have lunch. It'll be an asset there.
Yeah, because right now it's just a dirt pit and like George said, the car vehicles parked there and
Make a motion that we support the $12,000 additional requisition at this time with the appropriate reports being.
I'll second that.
So motion made and seconded, support this request with the additional supplemental reports required, and so we can close this process out. Any further discussion? Take this to a vote. Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Bartolome?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
thank you. I think we're all set.
I think you are all good. Thank you, George. Thank you.
I was able to get out of my DEP meeting early.
Next on the agenda, our countdown calendar. Valentine, anything you can add for that for us?
So on the countdown calendar, Holly put together a draft for review. We were actually just reviewing the bylaw. Which was sent out to all the folks on the committee. Basically, the select board need to have the recommendations in by January 1. So if you see on this calendar here, some of the dates got moved up, so you'll be busier earlier on to get all the recommendations in. Holly, did you want to speak any further on this one? Because you put together the calendar.
No, just that the dates are flexible. I mean, not super flexible if we need to change days.
I only have I got one question on a date, as I mentioned to Holly on the second one, I know last year we did Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday. I'm unavailable on the 10th, not that I have to be there on that, but I didn't know if there's any way that we could keep it the same Monday, Wednesday, Monday, and do it on the 8th possibly instead of at the 10th. And the 10th, the day before the holiday there, and I know I'm unavailable. I was just looking to see if we could shuffle that back a day or two. And it still fall within calendar wise, as far as that goes. It's not the last meeting, so it wouldn't be pushing it back any further. So
Probably has to do with Steve's schedule too.
We'll need to check in with you.
Yeah.
You could tentatively move it if you're all available to Monday, November 8th. Mr. Chair.
Well, Steve's can do that.
Yeah, subject to.
Subject to the schedule of TCTV. Do we need a motion for that?
I think we should have a motion because then we can get the dates to Steve and see if they're good with him. And if there's a problem, we'll bring it back at the next one.
Oh, we can go to the rest of the dates on that thing. As far as the other dates.
The Wednesdays and that one Thursday work for me. Anybody else have any conflicts?
Hey, I'm a free bird, I can do what I want. Yes, I gotta take back to the doctor. And that kind of stuff.
I'll make a motion that we use the dates provided with the exception of the November 10th, changing it to November 8th would be the Monday.
Second that.
Motion on the floor with a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. Mr. Graves.
Yes.
Ms. Bartolome.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. And Holly, you'll get back to us when we know if, did we fit the TCTV schedule for Monday, November 8th?
Yep.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda and our last item, action regarding the memo sent to the department heads. And I know I received a copy of that as well on the select board. So I'll entertain anything you wish to add for that, sir.
I believe this is memo you generally send out to the department heads, letting them know the dates to come in and meet with you. So if you wanted to, you could edit this, or you could just designate Holly to edit it with your schedule that you already voted on. Outside of that, that's really all I have on this one.
I know I got a couple questions on the letter. But
I'm not sure if it's true.
I don't know, so can you question on the letter? On some of the things in the letter? Go ahead. I know the bylaw has the amount, it's different. On the letter that goes out. With the letter going out being $5,000 and the capital planning bylaw being $10,000. I'd actually like to see it broken down to where the items that come to capital planning are according to the bylaw, the $10,000 and under. And anything over 10,000, anything under 10,000 would go to you to be looked at as part of the department's budget.
That's right, that's how it should
So
be.
I think that would, the same forms could be used. I think the department head should use the same forms on that, on a large item from 5 to 10 to turn into you. And I think they could be, they're special items, and I don't think it needs to be separated out. I think it can be just plain, if they need to buy something for $4,000, I think that have the educated ability to be able to say that's a good purchase for that department and put it into their budget. I don't necessarily think it has to come to capital planning on all of that. By all means, I want to kind of throw it out as a point of discussion on that, because I think I don't think we need to review everything that someone with a $3,000 item. That's something that if you feel that's necessary, it's a special item. If you feel you want to put it on a special item article, then you could do that also, but it gives you the ability to.
But if people vote on a budget and they think this is the budget for this department and they vote for it, and then further down the warrant, you have all these special articles. That really wasn't a true budget because you kind of like hid the rest of them in the back. You know, that was one of those kind of things that bothered me a lot. I'd rather have, if it's under $10,000, fit it into their budget. I would rather have a budget that's real and upfront. I've lived in this town long enough. People, if they know that a department really needs something, I've never heard them say no. So I think it's more honest than because you think, oh, that's what their budget is, and then you go down a few pages and you go like, holy smoly, there's all this other stuff, which should be part of the budget.
What it will lead to, I think, there will be some questions on, say, I'll use the police department as an example, why did the police department's budget go up by $70,000? It will pertain some explaining, I think, and educating to the townspeople. It went up $70,000 because they have
Oh, you have to-
12 items of $4,000 that need to be purchased.
But explain it
But
to them.
I think that, I don't think shouldn't necessarily come through us on according to the bylaw, so it just, my
You
opinion.
know, you shouldn't have to hide money
Well, I think it's hiding it. I think it's just trying to do it. I don't know if it's
Mr.
not
Marcos
being.
turned himself inside out trying to hide $10,000 one time. I had 20 versions of a budget. No, be honest and you're better off.
So what I'm hearing is, the capital wants to put in the $10,000 and to adjust the dates, designate Holly to do that, and then send the memo out. That's,
Yes, so
that's all I'm interpreting.
This aligns to the current town bylaw. And that is 9-8, section A, where it specifies the $10,000. And I know previous discussions, this also aligns to what the advisory committee was looking at last spring. All these special items that we were adding at the end, and as Bev said, it was, were we really doing a true budget?
I do think the department.
I think it cleans it up a little bit. It becomes a little more transparent.
That's fine.
They should still turn those items into use, so they have a defense as to why they need their budget to go up that much. And obviously, at that point, you'd still decide, well, they
Well,
don't need a.
as a rule, if it's, people don't have a problem with that, it doesn't, just explain, give them an explanation. Sometimes they won't even ask. But if they do, at least it's there, it's up front, and they'll have more trust in government. Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Any further discussions?
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we accept the capital memo as presented, changing the $5,000 to the $10,000 and changing the dates as necessary through Holly for the schedule of the department reviews.
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussions? Hearing none, we'll call to a vote. Mr. Graves.
Yes.
Ms. Bartolo.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. That's the last item I had on the agenda. I'm sorry, I did skip one, didn't I? Capital improvement fund. Sorry, I took them out of order.
That's all right. Please be flexible.
Pays to be flexible. Depends who you talk to.
I thought I missed a whole conversation there.
It'll give you less.
I skipped it.
less-
I wrote all
less
over
headache.
it and missed it. Okay, I know in the past we had some discussions on the forms, and what was available on the website was rather stale and dated, and we've been slowly working to get all of that cleaned up.
I know last year at the end, Holly did a great job. They put them all to make them all electronic forms for the department heads. I felt it made it a little bit easier when they did it like with the electronic forms, because we print them out typewritten. It's not trying to read someone's head scratch. What is explained. I do think that I'd like to see the department heads work at realizing that it's not just a one-year capital plan. They are looking out 6 years according to the bylaws and that they should be planning if they know they're gonna need something, but they're not gonna need it for 3 years, put it on the capital plan and show that they're gonna need it in 3 years. I think that's something that we need to encourage more on that. But if they fill out we've had the forms now for over a year, the same ones pretty much, and they should be able to get the detail in. It's not a sudden change on it. I just think the more detail they can put in it, it helps capital planning and it really helps the town with moving forward what they're gonna need, not just this year, but we see there's a $500,000 piece of equipment coming down the line in 3 years. That's something that we also need to keep in mind.
That's why I feel really bad about this loader, because it's paying so much more money for it. It's too bad, But it is.
Aligning this form, this has been one of my goals as a member of the select board, is to streamline and standardize across all the town departments, because we've had kind of a mishmash of different forms and they get a little confusing at times.
Yeah.
At least if we're all singing from the same sheet of music, it's easier to direct the choir. And it is a welcome change to see us moving the pendulum in the correct direction.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Any further discussions on that? Entertain a motion to adopt this and move it forward.
Make a motion about the forms that are presented to us. And to the department heads.
Second that.
You can get one of those.
On the webpage, they should. I would like to see when they get sent, when the letter gets sent out to the department heads, that they could just send it out to them electronically too, so that they can be filled in and sent out that way too. That way they don't have to necessarily go to the webpage to get it. They can fill it out right from there on. That's not just how that goes.
Motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion with a second. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. Mr. Graves.
Yes.
Ms. Bartola.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. That takes us through the agenda items. Anybody have anything that they need to add?
Yeah, I still one question to ask Adam, if he possibly do. With in the process, would it be possible to, these are the dates that they're gonna be, the department heads will be coming before us. Would it be possible to ask them, as the TA did, ask them to have that submitted in prior to that date so that we can review them? They could be emailed out to us, especially where they're on the electronic forms. It could be sent right to us. I'd like to see it like a week before, just so we can
Yeah, we'll get it.
we can look at them, make educated, start doing a little looking into it so that we don't come into the meeting on and be totally surprised by what they're saying and what they're looking for. I just think that, I know Holly did a good job last year with sending them out, but a lot of times that she was getting them the day of the meeting. We were kind of shuffling them quickly out as fast as possible. So if we could put a little, if you could put a little better, a little sooner deadline on them to have to us to review, I think that'd be helpful when it comes actually down to working with them.
So we could work on trying to get some language in that letter to make sure that they get them as soon as possible to the committee. I think we could do that. The sooner we get the letter out, I think the better off we are. Gives them enough time to really go through their
Yeah,
capital.
because it gives them over a month at this point, so pretty much a month. So I mean, as long as, I just didn't bring it up during the letter because I figured it wasn't really a thing coming from us at that point to get stuff a week early. It kind of more should come from you as far as that part goes. Just figured that would jostle them along, even more saying.
I think that could be done.
Excellent point. This late stage of the game, if we're just starting the budgetary process, we're behind the eight ball.
Yeah, and most of the department heads know what they're gonna need. They're not recreating the wheel. They know if they need stuff. It's probably broken now for 2 years, so they know they're gonna need it. So, pretty sure they should have most of that stuff. Pretty great.
Any other comments? Any comments from you, Mr. Olmsted?
It was a good productive meeting and see how the department reviews go, and I'll try to work on getting you a number as you get closer to developing the recommendations. Because we have quite a bit of capital needs in the town, in the community, so we'll proceed forward. So keep in mind too, I have to still make the deposits to our reserves as well. So it's that balance between our capital needs as well as our needs for our stabilization, our capital stabilization, as well as our OPEB. So I'll be in touch and I'll make sure I get that information out to you as you're going through the reviewing process.
Very good, we appreciate that. I see it's 4:14. Not bad at all. No further discussions, no further action items. We will call our meeting to a close.
Second that.
Motion to adjourn is always in order. Mr. Graves.
Yes.
Yes.
I vote